welcome to my show. It's called Flow with Me, and I am thrilled to have you. I reached out to you about a year ago. Was it? I was part of a group protesting the release of radioactive waste from a nuclear power plant in the Hudson River, and I was desperately looking for solutions. And I found you and your website. I gave you a call, and I was just blown away by your knowledge. And I remember feeling while we were talking how I wished I was recording this so I can share this information with people because you are such a wealth of information. So I'm so glad that I have another opportunity to speak with you and share all of your amazing knowledge. And I want to introduce you. So I'm going to read just a little bit about you so people know who you are. Frank Ramos is the founder and CEO of Save the Water, a South Florida-based nonprofit dedicated to ensuring access to clean, contaminant-free water through scientific research and public education. With over 40 years of experience in individual wastewater treatment, Frank co-founded the organization SaveTheWater.org in 1999 to investigate and combat the growing presence of toxic, unregulated chemicals in water supplies. Under his leadership, Save the Water has developed EPA-aligned testing protocols, scalable contaminant removal technologies, and a global network of volunteers driving research and outreach. Save the Water operates its research laboratory in Fort Lauderdale, where Frank and his team analyze water samples and experiment with various treatment methods. Frank leads the organization with a deep commitment to science, environmental health, and community impact. Incredible.
Well, thank you so much, Elisa. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you, honestly. I am honored. I'm honored to talk to you and to impart as much knowledge to you and to your audience of what is needed in the water situation. And I'm sure you have some questions that I would love to answer. Maybe some I can, maybe some that I can't.
What I love about your website, SaveTheWater.org, is that you have solutions. And so much of what people hear and read about is not solution focused. It's just problems on top of problems. And honestly, it's traumatizing. And for me, being a solution fix-it person, it's wonderful that you have solutions to problems. And this could be a fixable, manageable in some areas thing. So I love something you had on your website about water plants. And, that stood out to me. The plants that you could plant in areas that you want to pull pollution from.
Okay. Perhaps I can give you a little upfront so we understand where Save the Water is coming from. The mission of Save the Water is to conduct research to identify and remove harmful contaminants in water. Now, the keywords here are identify and remove harmful contaminants in water and to raise public awareness about water contamination and its health impact.
Yes.
Right now, what we're doing is the raising public awareness part. But the identify and remove is key to healthier, cleaner water for all people. The reason for that is that our water is already contaminated.
Yeah.
Okay? There is no going back. We manufacture in excess of 10 trillion pounds of chemicals in the United States every year to make all these things that we have for our convenience. That is not going to stop. The 10 trillion pounds of chemicals that we manufacture a year in the United States is not going to stop. Okay? Because otherwise we'll have to give up everything we have. The pretty couch you have behind you has a lot of PFAS in it. Okay. So
Sure.
the only answer is to identify and remove.
Yes, yes.
You identify, what do you need to identify? You need a laboratory with scientists working on identifying, and to remove, you need technologies to remove the chemicals. Now we can approach this with our drinking water. It's the first place that we need to start. The water out there in the river and in the lake and in the ground is contaminated. And so is the water in our body.
Yes.
Don't think that the water in our body is any cleaner. We might have less of it in our bodies, but it has the same contaminants that all the other water has.
Yes.
And the way that we're going to keep ourselves from poisoning ourselves is from getting in front of the water that we consume for drinking and cooking. And that is where the identify and remove comes in. We must identify the contaminants, we must remove them, and of course, we need to try to identify them again to make sure that we remove them. This is why the mission of Save the Water is so important in identifying and removing, because that is the approach that we have taken to cleaner, healthier water for all people.
Yes, yes. So it's a lot to, take in the reality of the situation. And it's just so important that people hear it and understand it and know. One of the things that I always go back to as a solution is the children and our education system, and how do we get them involved? Because obviously they're going to be the stewards of the planet moving forward. And how do we incorporate, is there a way to incorporate this information into the education system and have children made completely aware? I feel children are so shielded from so many truths in this world, and it's like this fake Disneyland picture that's being painted that's not real. And the amazing thing is how intelligent a child's mind is, and they could have solutions themselves if they were told the truth and involved and, given class trips and projects to polluted waterways, to landfills, to, what's really honestly happening here. So how do we get the message out to incorporate this into education?
Very interesting. Unfortunately, Alisa, even the adults are not informed. Okay, even the adults are not informed. So getting the children started on this, we have a program called Day in the Life of a Scientist, which we take to middle schools both in person and and virtually. And we also have an e-summer camp that we're signing up for now. So in our website, we have a sign up for the summer camp for the children. But yes, it is very important that we need to teach our children, because we continue to talk about things that may happen 50 years from now. The problem is right now. I don't know if you recently heard Secretary Kennedy mention the statistics on autism. In 1970, there was one case of autism for 10,000 childbirth. The number today is 1 in 31. That is absurd.
Yeah.
Now, 1 in 31 versus 1 in 10,000, I'm sure that there is other factors that contributed to this, but 10 trillion pounds of chemicals a year must have something to do with this. Because it's not only autism, but heart disease, diabetes, and all kinds of other chronic diseases have increased in the same period of time that we have increased the number of chemicals in our lives. And teaching the children this is very important, because there's no other way. There's no other way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wish we could do more. We have our programs, but I wish we could do more regarding education.
I learned that there's a treatment plant that converts sewage into energy. It's an energy plant that utilizes sewage for energy. It's in Oregon. And I'm like, why is this not world news as an example for the entire world to follow? This is so brilliant. It's just incredible to me. Like, why couldn't that be a class trip for children? Maybe it is in Oregon. I don't really know. But this is technology that's here right now, which is so incredible. And that's there for the
That's going to
taking
be
for
one of
some.
the technologies that probably by force, we're going to have to go to. Because right now we have an excess of biosolids, the solids that come from the water treatment plants. We have an excess of that, and they're so contaminated that we're looking at it that it might not be a good idea to use them as fertilizer.
Right.
So
Yes.
once we have an excess of biosolids, what do we do with it? There's something you have to put them somewhere. So the conversion to energy is the right answer to that.
It's so brilliant.
We've
It
known how to do this for many years. We just not do it. We just do the easiest. Okay, that is what industry does the easiest and cheapest thing that we can do in anything that we do.
so I I just feel also that, in talking about it, in teaching children, that there's so many aspects to be shared, and water is sacred and a necessity for all life. But the sacredness, the holiness of water is, to me, such an important thing to get through to people, that we are made of water. And it's been proven that water responds to negativity. Like, they've proved it, that the molecular structure changes when it's being, abused, or when there's negativity around it. It's like a conscious, living, sentient being. And probably the closest we could get to God, really. And we are of the water. So to me, this is like the most basic fundamental thing of reintroducing sacredness and of water into the consciousness of humanity, and getting back to what's truly sacred. And so this is so important, that I'm having this conversation with you, and that in doing so, having this conversation, it offers me the opportunity to say that, which I appreciate, because it's like, it weighs on me, and it's just so important that people understand, how sacred it is. And you see it. How you feel when you're around water. You see animals and how they respond when they're around water. All life, how it reacts to water is like profound. We're going home. We're going home. And I used to teach guided meditation. I don't know if I want to say teach, but I offered guided meditation during the pandemic to a group of nurses. And I would do a section of the guided meditation about visualizing your favorite place to be and to swim, and the smells and the colors, and have them move their bodies as they were swimming through the water, and ultimately have their body melting away, disappearing, and becoming one with the water, and reflecting back all the universe. And it was tears, tears, tears every time. Every time it was like there's this knowing inside of all of us that it's sacred, and that we're lucky enough to have an opportunity to care for it and experience it, right? So I'm passionate.
I can see that. I can see the passion in you. Yes. One of the things that I always, and when you think of it, is incredible. We have hydrogen and oxygen, two explosive gases, And when they combine, they become the essence of life. It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, we don't even understand uh, chemistry.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's incredible. Yeah. I've been my first connection to water became in the mid 60s when our rivers and lakes were becoming. We had a problem of eutrophication, that our rivers and lakes were turning green from excessive nutrients.
Okay.
And at that time, I first got into the chemical industry, and I was working for a company that manufactured phosphates, which was considered one of the culprits. So water contamination became my passion, and whatever project that I've been working on, there's always been a water aspect to the project, and I've always been conscious that even if the product that I'm manufacturing here doesn't use water, there is some water being used and being contaminated somewhere. And since then, I've been involved in the water contamination and water treatment, and it's just something that I have read about a lot. And this is why perhaps you say that I know a lot, is because I've spent the time reading about it for a long time. And I am also very passionate about not poisoning ourselves. I'm very passionate about the future of clean water and healthy water. And I think it can be done. I think we can, at least the water that comes from the tap needs to be clean. Elia?
Frank, I want to ask you something. If is there something people can do at home? Is there something you would want to make people aware of that could be helpful? I know a lot of people use toxic products just to clean their sink, clean their bathroom, clean their toilet. And, people's whole houses are like hazardous toxic waste sites that they're living in. So I I would love to, create that awareness that it's harmful, it's not necessary, and go through room by room, right? What are the things in your home that go down into a drain, flushed into a toilet that could harm the water? Is there anything you want to say to
Okay, let
that?
me let me give you a little introduction, a little knowledge of how things get into the environment. Okay,
Okay.
every chemical manufactured, everything that you see around you there, it's chemicals. Everything. There's nothing in 200 years ago, you would have a wooden table and a wooden chair, no chemicals. Today, that does not exist. Okay, the table has chemicals, so does the chair. Okay, so everything around you, even if it's made out of wood, it has a chemical coating on it. Now, there's three ways that chemicals and things get into the environment. Okay, one way is during manufacture. When you make a chemical or you make something, there is always spillage and it goes into the ground. So manufacturing and transport. If you put it in the truck, it's going to get spilled sometime because an accident is going to happen and it's going to get into the environment. So manufacturing transport is one of the ways that all chemicals and all things get into the environment. The second way is during use. When you wash your hair, that shampoo goes right into the environment, and surfactants are a contaminant of emerging concern. When you spray for you kill your ants and your roaches and you got insects, you're spraying a pesticide into the environment. So during use. And guess what? At disposal. After you own that couch for 10 years, you take that trash and put it outside. They come and pick it up and put it in the landfill. So there's three ways: manufacture, use, and disposal. Everything goes back to the environment. Period.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
There's no other way.
Yes. Yes. I know. I understand that completely. This has been such a learning experience for me. I think I was born with an awareness, some people are, and a sensitivity to all these things that we're talking about. I was born, like, I literally remember, Frank, the first time I saw a garbage bag, a plastic bag in a tree, and I was young. I was very young, and I was like, what is that? Like, I had never seen that before, and I just freaked out. So there's always been that seed of consciousness, in me, and I am giving humanity the benefit of the doubt that because it's not taught, because it's not widely known, that when you give the information, when you share the information, which is probably the only thing and the best thing you can do at times, that's what you can do. So when we first spoke, when we first had that conversation, you had said that you were deeply affected by discovering that dolphins and whales were getting cancer, and that really hit me. And people have to know that, because it's not, oh, what a cute dolphin, oh, what an amazing, they're suffering. These
For sure.
beautiful, beautiful creatures. We are just visitors here. This is their home, right? So can you share a little bit about that and how it affected you?
Well, that is the reason that Save the Water exists today.
Yeah.
That's exactly the reason that Save the Water. It was September 19th of 1999. That is the day that I registered the SaveTheWater.org and SaveTheWater.com, and a little later we got SaveTheWater.net. But that day I was reading an article about saving the whale. And he said that the whales and dolphins had cancer. And I said, how in the world do these free animals in the beautiful ocean have cancer? The answer was that their fat tissue contained 1,000 times more polychlorinated biphenyls than the fat tissue of humans. Immediately I said they're swimming in it. So when I look up polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, I found out that it's such a toxic chemical that they stopped manufacturing use it in 1979. Even China in the 80s stopped manufacturing use. We manufacture 2,600,000,000 pounds of this chemical and put it into the environment.
Today?
This chemical is a persistent organic pollutant that does not wait. We don't even know when it's going to degrade. The history from the 40s, from 1947 to 1977, the General Electric Company alone dumped into the Hudson River 1.2 million pounds of PCBs. And the total global historical manufacture of PCBs is 2,600,000,000 pounds that we manufacture before we decided, oh, this chemical is so bad, we should stop it. Okay. And now, right now, today, we got the same problem with another chemical called per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, the forever chemical that everybody's talking about. This is another persistent organic pollutant. We're still manufacturing 700,000,000 pounds of this chemical every year.
Ooh.
And we're trying to regulate it at 4 parts per trillion.
Who is using this? Is it used in the production of plastics, or what is it? What is it used?
It's in everything. It's in everything. It's in your cosmetics. It's in your creams. It's in your couch. It's used in non-stick cookware. It's used in water-repellent fabrics and non-stick packaging products. It's used in can liners. It's used in water bottles. It's using everything. And it's using firefighting foam. In other words, they mix it with water to put out the fires. Now, what a direct way to put this into the environment than to mix it with water to put out a fire with. Millions and millions, 700,000,000 pounds of PFAS are manufactured every year in the United States.
Okay. Is there a solution on your solutions page? Is there water filtration that can be used for people like me, or no?
No, yeah, you can install a water filter, install a reverse osmosis or a carbon filters on your water faucet. And you will eliminate a lot of that, including the PFAS. I'm not too sure how extensive for what PFAS, but there's about 12,000 in this family of chemicals. Okay.
Okay.
So, but a carbon filter or a reverse osmosis filter, which is what I use for my drinking and cooking water.
Okay.
Okay. And I do not drink bottled water unless I am dying of thirst. I will not buy a bottle of water. If I am dying of thirst, I will go ahead and buy a bottle of water, but otherwise I don't. Even if I'm dying of thirst, I go ahead and buy a beer instead. Okay, and now I find out that even beer has PFAS in it.
Sure, because I understand that.
The water is coming from the water. We found PFAS in the Antarctica. Okay, how in the world is PFAS in Antarctica?
Well, because of the amount that you're telling me is being dumped, I mean, you know, it's a sensitive planet. It's not built or designed to handle any of this. None
Well,
of
you know, back in the 40s and 50s, and even in the 60s, when I first came into the chemical industry as a young man, the saying was, dilution is the solution to pollution. You understand that?
yeah,
Dilution is the
yes,
solution to
yes,
pollution.
yes,
Up to the 1940s, we were saying that. And
right.
I even heard it as a young man in the 1960s, some old chemists saying it.
Yeah.
We find out that that's not true. Dilution, you cannot continue. There's only a finite amount of water on the earth, and you continue to add 10 trillion pounds of chemicals to that water to the earth every year. The concentration of those chemicals are going to increase.
At this point, Frank, are there any clean beaches like on the planet? Are there any safe places for people to swim in the ocean anymore?
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. I'm sure, but you know, the water quality is not improving. The water quality is getting worse and worse and worse. Okay. And the reason for that is the addition of the chemicals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay? You know, the the Clean Water Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act intended to do something, but unfortunately, nothing that you write on a piece of paper is going to keep any chemical from entering the environment in the three ways that I told you: manufacture, during use, and at disposal. Regardless of what you write on a piece of paper, the chemicals are going to get into the environment via manufacture, use, and disposal. So, you know, the laws are preventive to a point. Okay. We'll keep a manufacturer from dumping something intentionally, but eventually that chemical, if it's not dumped intentionally, it's going to get in there eventually through one of the three ways that chemicals get into the environment.
Well, some of the things that you have mentioned are the products that we use in our homes, the nonstick cookware, the cosmetics, the shampoos, and I want to say a special shout out to women who dye their hair. Please, no need. Let your hair alone. Don't put cancerous chemicals on your head and they just get washed into the environment. To a society that tells you you need to look younger, you're willing to put cancerous chemicals on yourself and in the environment. Please don't do
So
that.
my wife had cancer of the mouth because of the bleaching of the hair.
Yes. I'm so sorry to hear that, Frank. I really am. I really am. And again, you know, there's no awareness. It's not taught. It's not spoken about. It's not news. But putting that out there because I have an opportunity thanks to this conversation. So I have to wrap it up, but I want to thank you so much for being here. I want to share your website again. It's savethewater.org. Everyone listening, thank you so much. This is Frank Ramos. It's Alyssa Fern Sequoia. And this is just, Frank, you are so special. And I stand in solidarity with you. And please check out Frank's website again. Volunteer for his organization. If you're in the Florida area, reach out to Frank. You know, we conscious people need to stick together and make a difference. And I have hope. So
thank you so much. If you please share the link with me, we'll share it across our platforms as well.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much. And although it has my name is wrong down here, but that's okay. Um, thank you so much, Frank. I really appreciate it. This was a
Love
pleasure.
what you're doing, and thank you so much for having me.
Okay, thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.